Hey everyone, welcome to the Fourth Page Podcast. I'm Danny Jones of Singing News. My guest today, well, I guess you could say he is a legend in the world of Southern gospel music, but I'm proud to call him friend, Mr. Ivan Parker. Ivan, we're glad you're here today.
Hey, brother. Man, it's great to be here.
Yeah, it is
Thank
great
you.
to see you. Here we are. It's been a while since I've actually been able to be in the same room with you, and I can safely say it wasn't long enough.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
You've always been a close
I
friend.
know. We try to encourage each other all we can. Ivan, I'm gonna start with a very simple question, yet a very difficult question. Who is Ivan Parker?
Wow. Ivan Parker, I would, a family man. Let's put that first. Saved. I know Jesus Christ is my Savior, and I'm proud of it, not ashamed of it. And love the greatest music in the world. It doesn't get any better than God's music and what we do and what we represent. And the other part of that's a survivor.
Yes. Added a little something to the resume, if you will, there.
Boy, didn't we? In a big way.
You did. August 2021, everyone's still reeling from the effects of COVID. But suddenly your life got turned upside down with one phone call.
Boy, it did. It really did. It started, of course, the surgery. I'll just go ahead and just say this. I was diagnosed with cancer, and it was a spot on the back of my tongue, and made the lymph nodes swell up. Let me go back to June, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And I was just shaving one morning, and some of you that's been through this experience, I'm sure that you've walked this very same path. But I was shaving one morning, and as I got right in here, I noticed there was a little raised spot just on the side of my neck, and I thought, well, okay, I've dealt with sinus infections and things, glands swell up. I've done that before. Okay, we got it. We got it now. This is what we got to deal with. And so I just gave it a few days just to kind of just see how things were gonna, if it's gonna get worse, to get better. And so after a couple of weeks, I just decided to, this thing it seemed to be getting a little bit larger and get a little firmer, I guess you'd say, too. And so I decided to just go to the doctor and say, okay, give me a good round of antibiotics. This thing's evidently taking on a whole nother face here. So so the doctor looked at me and he said, you know what? He said, I don't want to think the worst. He said anything like that. He said, but let's send you down to the clinic and let's just do a biopsy. Let's just get it off the table, and then we won't have to think about it anymore. And okay, that sounds fair. So went down there. They did a biopsy, and this was somewhere along about the 1st of July, I guess, first or second week of July. And after they took the biopsy, I was waiting, to hear some results in the whole thing. And lo and behold, the doctor went on vacation.
Mm.
So I'm like, I'm sitting on the bus every week, and I'm like thinking, okay, so we should be hearing something. And of course, every day that went along, it got a little bit more nervous. It's like, I know nothing's wrong, but sure would be nice for somebody to confirm this. And he finally got back from vacation. They called, and I was actually on the road when they called and said it came back and it's positive. And Ivan, we're very sorry about this. And I'm like, so wait a minute. So you're telling me I've got cancer? Is that what you're saying? And the little nurse on the other end, she said, yes, sir. She said, yes, sir. And I said, well, okay, well, we need to figure out what next step is. And of course, it felt yucky, It just felt like, wow, I didn't anticipate ever in my life ever going through anything like this. And so we set up a date. I could go by and talk to the doctor. And he said, well, I'm going to refer you to an oncologist. And we're going to do some CT scans. We're going to get all this stuff taken care of. And so then the month of July was filled with that whole process of running tests. Let's see what we've got, and if it's this, then we're going to do this. And if it's this, we're going to go this. And so then I went to the oncologist, and he said, it's a spot on the back of your tongue that you can't see. It's where it actually curves down back in the back, but yet I've got a lump on my neck, and he said, we're going to put you through 6 weeks of radiation and chemo. And I'm like, you know what, doc? I said, be a little more specific. I said, so you're going to be shooting radiation right in this neck part right here. I said, that mean you're going to be shooting my vocal cords too? I'm already thinking, about the singing process. And he said, yeah. And I said, let's take a second. I said, I need to explain to you what I do. And so I went through the whole process of telling him that I'm a singer. And I said, and it's not just a singer that sings in church on Sunday morning. I tour. I do concert dates. I sing to thousands of people. I said, this is what I do for a living, and this is a ministry. And I said, so when it comes to radiation on the vocal cords, I'm going to have to say no. And he looked at me really strange whenever I said that. And sweet doctor, he was a sweet guy. He said, you're right. I had talked to Sherry Easter back several weeks before, and Sherry had told me, she said, Ivan, I've been through this. She said, know what's going on, be informed. And she said, do your homework. And she said, bottom line, it's your choice what you do, what you don't do. And that really rang out to me. And so the doctor said, let me go check something. I'll be right back. He came back in about 10 minutes, and he handed me a card. And he said, Ivan, I understand exactly what you're talking about here. He said, I want you to be at Vanderbilt Monday morning, 7 o'clock. And he said, I've called a friend of mine. They're going to work you in. And, of course, I was thinking, 7 o'clock? That's early. And so anyway, I went down there, took my CT scans with me, and it was at the vocal clinic there at Vanderbilt in Nashville. And so as I walked in, and the doctor and I, new doctor, we talked, and Dr. Langerman was his name, and he said, Ivan, he said, good news, bad news. He said, good news. He said, we can treat this. I said, man, that's great. He said, the bad news is, he said, you're going to have to take some time off. I said, you mean like in cancel or postpone concert dates? He said, yeah. I said, how long? And he said, you're going to have to take off 3 months. And I'm like, oh dear Lord. Other than the pandemic, I hadn't been home that long in one stretch, and my whole career. And I'm like, okay, all right, so we'll readjust, we'll revamp. He said, the other good news is, he said, I'm pretty sure we can do this with just surgery. He said, we caught it early. And he said, so I think we can do it all, just surgery. I said, Okay, that sounds good to me. I said, when you want to do it? And he said, August 24th. I said, okay, I'll move whatever concert dates I need to move, and I know the people will understand, and we'll just move forward in this thing. So I was telling Teresa, my wife, one day, I said, you know what, baby? I said, I've never been through anything like this. And I said, I don't feel alone, but I said, but at the same time, we're going to have to tell the public something because we're clearing off 3 months
Right.
of a schedule. And I said, so I think we're just going to have to just go ahead and announce it and just be done with it, which was probably one of the best decisions through the whole thing, because what I found out, and I'm going to try to do this without tearing up, because what I found out was there was people that I didn't even know existed that loved Ivan Parker.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never been sick. I've never been in the hospital. I've never had to call upon a lot of people, to pray. And but it was incredible at the response, and it was from all over the world. It was countries stretched around the world, in Ireland, South Africa, and people who responded and said, "We're going to be praying for you." And so in the process of all of this, I gave them the time when the surgery was going to happen, what the time frame was. We'll be going into surgery at 5 o'clock on this morning, and it's going to be for a 4-hour surgery. Well, these gracious folks out there that became my real close friends, all of a sudden, they started forming segments through this whole surgery time. They started praying immediately the day before, and they had a chain effect going.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're from this area, let's take this time. If you're from this area, let's take this time. And so they began to just pour into me in the most incredible way.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into surgery that morning knowing that I was being held by not only friends and fans out there, but that God had me surrounded.
Mm. It was truly all right, I'm living what I've been singing moment.
Boom.
And when you deal with reality in something like that, that's when you realize, okay, there is a God who knew this was coming,
Right.
and he put into place Ivan's support team.
Yep.
Over the years, he gradually said, Ivan's going to need you on this day in August, so you need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So you go through surgery, you come back. By the way, I've not asked Teresa if she has any great video of you coming out of anesthesia.
She doesn't.
She doesn't. You checked, didn't
I
you?
promise you I checked. Yes.
So you get out of surgery. You everything goes through fine in the recovery process there at the hospital. You come home. I ask you a challenging question. When you're sitting there in your recliner at home, did your mind ever go off into a place that said, okay, what happens if I can't sing? Or were you at peace enough at that point to say, you know what, this is just a road speed bump in a road of life? Where were you at during those early days at home?
Danny, there were so many mixed things going on, because I mean, the doctor told me, said the best medicine for this is to stay positive. I need you to stay positive. Okay, I'm a pretty positive person, and so we're going to do that. But yet at the same time, it's almost like if you can picture, as I was sitting there, anticipating this whole thing of, I'm telling myself, yes, you're going to sing again. Yes, you're going to sing the midnight cry. You're going to be able to do exactly what you've always done, and you're going to do it better. And so I had that on this side, but yet there was this other little negative side over here that Satan just kept trying to feed negative into me and go, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do if you can't sing?
Mm-hmm.
What if your stamina doesn't come back as quick as you think it's going to? And I mean, it was just one thing right after another. And then I'm in the middle. My mind's right here going, God, I don't understand why I'm even going through all this. I've been singing gospel music. I've been putting everything. I've sacrificed my family. I've given everything that I have. I've given to ministry and to singing and doing what I do. I don't understand. Why are you taking me on this journey? Why are you allowing this?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've got a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have time for this. And it almost seemed as if, and Danny, I'm gonna tell you just in simple terms, and I imagine people can probably identify with this, but I couldn't understand why I was hearing all of a sudden so much negative about where was I going to go from here?
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do for a living? What am I going to, how am I going to get away from the only thing that I know? And I put my heart, soul, life, everything into. And so one day I got real frustrated because it seemed like the negative was louder than the positive. And I said, God, I don't get it. I just don't get it. I'm not mad, but at the same time, I don't get it. I said, why is the negative louder than the positive? Why do I hear this voice louder than I hear yours? And I guess I went through probably about an hour of just soul searching. I'm like going, I'm a positive person. Why am I hearing negative so loud? Mm-hmm. And it was like a sweet voice spoke to my heart. And this is what it said, and I hope this blesses and helps somebody. But God spoke to my spirit and said, it's because my voice is of peace. My voice is soft because it's healing. And my voice is filled with love. And as soon as I heard that in my spirit, I'm like, I get it.
Yep. Folks, we'll be right back with more of the Fourth Page Podcast. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Fourth Page Podcast. I'm your host, Danny Jones of Singing News. My guest today, Ivan Parker, and we have been discussing his recent journey through cancer. And fortunately, we were able to be here today and say it's been a journey that has ended well thus far. And Ivan and I were talking along the way during some of this about some of the comments that have been made to you as you went through the events leading up to the surgery, the recovery, and beyond that. But there were a couple of comments that resonated with you and stuck in your mind, especially one that came from a pastor. Share that with us a little bit.
That, and he meant well, and I received it well, but it's probably in saying this out loud, there may be somebody going, that didn't sound good. But he wanted to know, where did you see God in this whole thing? And without hesitation, and I do realize it was a God answer. One of my answers was too clever. You've always said I wasn't just real smart. But I told the pastor, I said, I saw God from day one, from the very beginning of this whole thing, because Vanderbilt Vocal Clinic, that was not part of the picture on the very front end of this. They were wanting to do radiation and chemo. Well, God worked it out. Here, we're going to go to Vanderbilt and do this. And I've got just the doctor in mind. God knew the whole process of all of this. And so, in finding out all this news about what I was getting ready to face, told the family, told everybody, and my sweet little daughter-in-law, Sandy, she made a comment and said something about the spot on the tongue and the lymph node, because the doctor said not everybody's lymph nodes will do this and swell up. And if it hadn't done that, then this thing could have gotten worse, and we'd have never known it until it was later stages. And Sandy made the comment. She said, God revealed what Satan was trying to hide.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, that's my slogan. That's what we're going with right there. And so that helped me through a lot of this whole process too. And I'll never forget the day, the morning after surgery, and I was laying there in the bed, and the doctor comes walking in, and he's smiling, and he says, "Well, how's my little singer doing this morning?" And I spoke to him, and I said, "Doc, I'm doing fine. How are you doing?" And he stood back, and he was just amazed. He said, "It's great to hear your voice." And I said, "Tell me about it." Yeah, I'm glad to hear my voice too. And I asked the Lord, I said, "Lord, if this journey that you just took me through is for any one person, I don't know if it's one person or a multitude of people, because everybody's been affected by cancer, whether it was them personally or a loved one or a friend. Everybody's been affected in some way or another." And I said, so I'm not sure who exactly this is for, if it's just me learning this whole new faith journey. Is it just me, or is it other people? And I found out that God gives us new testimonies in our journey. It's not as much a stumbling block as it is, how are you going to tell the story? How are you going to present this message to folks? And so I said, Lord, if there's somebody that I need to particularly, if I need to mention to the doctor, if I need to witness to him in some way, or, I said, Lord, you just going to have to show me, direct me, and how I'm supposed to do this and when. Mm-hmm. And I'll probably close with this part right here. Last week, I went for my 3-month checkup, and the doctor was sitting there, and he went through all the examinations, and he ran the camera through my nose and all that, got me sneezing quite a bit, and so he said, "Man, you look great." He said, "Cancer-free." And I said, that's music to my ears. Mm-hmm. And so we sat there and went through, just some of the examination process that he wanted to do. And so he said, let's take a walk. I said, okay, all right. I have no earthly idea where we're going. Okay. And so he took me out of the room there, and we walked across the hall, and we walked into the vocal clinic, into the hallway of the vocal clinic. And the hall was lined with pictures of every country singer imaginable, and other singers as well. There was even a few gospel music folks on the wall. And he said, this is the Hall of Fame right here. I said, yeah, I see that. I said, I know a lot of these people. And he said, I want your picture up here. He said, would you mind signing a picture? And he said, and let's put it on the wall. I said, I don't mind. I don't mind at all.
Probably the autograph that you were ready to give of all time right there.
The big one.
Yeah.
The big one.
That's great.
And so while we were standing there just talking and looking at the pictures, I said, Doc, can I tell you what happened the morning of surgery? And it was the day before Thanksgiving. I was the very last appointment, so neither one of us were in a big hurry going into Thanksgiving. And he said, sure. And I said, that surgery, that morning of surgery, I said, I had released to the public on social media and email newsletter, I released the information that what we were going through, the time, what time it was even going to start. I said, I wanted everybody to know exactly what was going on. And I said, Doc, I've just got to tell you. I said, that morning, actually it started the night before, that people started moving into that hospital room. And I said, when you started that surgery, I said, you wheeled me into that room to start surgery. And this is where it gets victoriously emotional for me. I said, Doc, what you didn't see was there was an army that came in behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, they surrounded that room. And I said, every time you lifted your arm to make a cut, to do something precise, I said, there was somebody out there that was lifting your arms. There was somebody that were helping your fingers move. And God filled you with something that a lot of people don't get to experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you didn't do the surgery alone.
Right. You know, as you've been sharing that aspect, there's one thing that keeps going through my mind. Your mom, probably one of the biggest prayer warriors that this world has ever known. While she couldn't be there, heaven had prepared a whole host of people just like her for this very moment.
Yeah.
And she set the stage for you.
She did.
You know, you've it's always good when you come out of the battle and you're in the victorious moment. But there's also, you and I have that same little twisted sense of humor. I remember a few texts we did while you were in recovery, through the recovery process and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one text in particular that stands out for some reason. I said, well, how you doing? I said, are you back to solid food yet? And you said, no. I mean, it was very emphatic, no. And you said, I am so tired of protein shakes and all of this liquid diet. He said, I'm going to buy the neighborhood Burger King when I get out of here.
That's fact.
So did you go do that?
You know what? I did. I went to a hamburger place as soon as I felt that, there was not going to be any pain, in swallowing, which took about 3 or 4 weeks to get past that. And then it was like, okay, I want the biggest, juiciest cheeseburger I can find.
Totally healthy, of course.
Oh, absolutely. All the ingredients of what I needed at the moment. But yes, I did. I went and got a hamburger with French fries.
And enjoyed every stinking second of it, didn't you?
I promise you, it hit home.
I bet.
It was a miracle.
Well, as we're sitting here today, you are a few days past your first weekend back on the road. How did it go?
You know what? It was scary. I hadn't sang a note in 3 months, and the first night out up in Maryland, it was rather nervous because I knew I was going to get close, but I didn't know how close. To hitting the notes, and then the other part was remembering all the lyrics. And so it went well. It as good as can be expected for coming back after all of this, and then Saturday night was even better. And then Sunday was even better than that. And so I consider the whole thing, it's like, man, this is good. I'm thankful that I'm back. I'm thankful that I can sing. And I'm so excited that I can still present this message the way it's supposed to be presented. And so, yeah, I was excited to be back.
So what lies ahead for Ivan Parker? Is there a new album in the works? What's on the agenda?
Well, now that I'm through all of this, I'm going to start pretty quickly. I'm going to start working on getting material together, and I think I'm going to record again.
I think you should.
Yep, I think I'm going to do that.
It's a new season for you.
Yeah.
And a new energy level.
Yeah.
So Ivan Parker's far from being done.
Oh, you can't get rid of me that easy.
Okay. All right, now.
I knew you had some thoughts right there.
You would have been very disappointed had I responded any other way.
I was waiting.
Very serious, yes, when you have to consider a possible career change. I mean, for any reason. But I'm just curious, because you and I have never really talked about this. You have been involved in gospel music all of your life, same as I have been. And we've never really had to face that question of, well, what would you do if something changed? Any idea what you would do if one day you finally said, you know what, I want to do something besides sing? What would you do?
Danny, I'll be honest with you. I have no idea what I would do beyond singing.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. I mean, I've looked into help wanted ads just to, get through the pandemic, and there was nothing there. So I don't know what I'd do.
I guess you and I would just have to sit around on rocking chairs all day long and wonder a lot.
Yeah, and we can start that anytime if you want to.
Wow. You're going to go ahead and retire both of us right here, aren't you?
Yeah, you're going with me when I go.
Okay.
But we're not doing it today.
No, we're going to at least wait till Friday, right?
Right.
Okay. Hey, our guest today on the Fourth Page Podcast, well, hello, Mr. Microphone. The Fourth Page Podcast has been Ivan Parker, and it's truly a great time to have my buddy here with us. Be watching for more episodes of the Fourth Page Podcast. I'm Danny Jones, your host. We'll see you next time.